our first 2 years of production, Traveltelevision has focused on the volunteers rebuilding the Gulf Coast of the U.S. after Hurricanes Rita and Katrina. There are many people helping to bring back the Gulf, and in this episode we will revisit some of our favorite stories.
Among the things Hurricane Ike took from people on the Texas coast was their Christmas ornaments. Small things.
Isn't it cute? I love Eeyore and Winnie the Pooh.
Leave a big void.
When you lose this, it's been likened to losing your family pictures.
Jill Crone's family suffered a flood 13 years ago.
This is our house right here. I've been there and I know how difficult it can be.
After Ike, Jill came down with a relief team from her church, Emory United Methodist in North Texas, and remembered what Christmas was like for her family after the flood.
This wasn't debris out on the curb. This was their lives.
Well, we had a lot of ornaments that the kids made, years ago, and they're all gone. So
Jill Crone and the Emory Church began collecting.
Initially, we were thinking a few thousand ornaments would be wonderful.
She contacted other Texas congregations. It multiplied.
Oklahoma, Tennessee, Florida, Michigan, New York State.
25,000 ornaments and all sorts of decorations were collected for giveaways near Galveston and here in Port Arthur.
That is just too cute. Cute.
They're helping so many families find their new normal.
But normal isn't even in sight for recipients like Sarah Vines.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
The Vines lost their house in Hurricane Rita 3 years ago. Ike wiped them out again.
Everything that had sentimental value is completely gone.
They brought donated decorations back to a tiny temporary apartment, and the Vines family went to work.
This looks more like what our tree would look like.
They don't know where the gifts came from, but in future Decembers, these ornaments will symbolize new family memories.
I feel like I own this tree now. This is my tree now.
Common Ground was born out of the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. This grassroots organization provides basic services and meals to the displaced Ninth Ward residents of New Orleans. Traveltelevision.org visited the headquarters at the foot of the bridge of the lower Ninth Ward. We spoke to a New Yorker who explained why he volunteered to work at a site that loans tools and provides neighbors with supplies and food.
My name is Daniel Kirchhoff, and I'm living in Queens, New York. I'm down in Common Ground in Lower Ninth Ward volunteering for 2 weeks, and I heard about Common Ground when I was volunteering with the homeless up in West Side of New York, and I met some people who came down here, and I was interested in volunteering, but I didn't know of how I do it logistically, and they told me Common Ground would give you 3 meals a day and give you a place to stay, so I figured that would solve that problem. So I contacted Common Ground. It was very simple. They gave me an application form, and that was it on the website. And I've been down here for a week now, and we're cleaning out houses, gutting houses, and just finished up on a clinic, a free clinic, so that's going to be working in about a few days now. And I'm living with the community of volunteers and also residents of the Lower Ninth. So I've been listening to a lot of stories, what's going on here, and it's been pretty enlightening and very moving as far as what people have gone through. And they're just really happy to have people down here. They're excited to see people from all over the country that care. And that's part of the reason why I came down here, is I was just hearing terrible stories about how no one's really doing much, or the government especially has been really dropping the ball, so I wanted to do my own part. So it's been a good experience. It's been very interesting, and it's a great place to just find out for yourself what's going on, and also to see people who are starting from scratch again and have an incredible willpower to try to make their lives good again. I went to a Baptist service, and it was just really positive, very moving how they were really hopeful about what's going to happen, but they also realize there's a lot of work to be done here, and there's tons of work to be done. So we really need volunteers, and we need people to just come down here, and even just witnessing what's happening is important. So I hope you can make it down here. Thanks.
To see volunteer stories, go to www.projectkatrinavolunteers.net.
In the lowlands of Mississippi, just an hour outside of the spotlight that shines on New Orleans, are the remnants of a community called Waveland, Mississippi. The hurricanes brought total devastation and destruction. Katrina Relief is headed by Kathleen Johnson, who has worked tirelessly as the director of this organization, which strives to help those who have fallen through the cracks. Relief assistance is complicated, and there is an endless ribbon of red tape that makes many of those who need it unable to reach their well-deserved assistance. A local police officer who had just completed building his home before the hurricane is one of the unlucky residents who were totally wiped out by the force of Katrina. His requests for assistance were denied by FEMA because only one home on each property was eligible for financial support, and his home was one of two on his father's property. Katrina Relief came to this officer's rescue by rebuilding the home. Kathleen Johnson uses her determination to weave together donated materials and land and the skills of enthusiastic college spring breakers, Amish carpenters, and faith-based groups. Travel Television visited the work site on the first day of the job.
We're here in Waveland, Mississippi.
At least it'll look good.
With students from the University of Nebraska.
Okay, not a problem, sweetheart. Well, then don't come out near the property.
Helping to rebuild houses
Next to the road.
2.5 years after Hurricane Katrina.
Hi, I'm Julie Dierberger. I'm from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. This trip we have brought 40 UNL students, faculty, and staff to Hancock County, Mississippi. This is our 5th trip. We've had about 300 faculty, staff, and students serve in this community since January of 2006.
I'm Jenna Busboom. I'm from Pickerel, Nebraska, and I came to the Gulf Coast with the UNL group just to see what the hurricane has done and to help out some people down here.
This is a service learning trip, and so we're trying to learn about the community, about different types of needs, different types of tools, and those sorts of things, and also through our service that we are performing to the community.
There's a lot to be done. Just driving around, you can just see all the different houses and all the different just places that still need to be taken, like the houses that still need to be taken down, or the houses that still need to be rebuilt. There's tons of them down here. Like we heard, there's only 20% of the houses that are rebuilt. There's that many more that need to be helped out yet.
The university decided to come to Hancock County specifically because of the devastation and the connection that we had to this specific community agency initially after the storm. From there, we've only developed relationships specifically with this county, and we've dedicated our service to the long-term recovery of Hancock County. We knew that when we began these projects, we didn't want it to be a flash in the pan sort of thing. We wanted it to be an ongoing effort that wasn't just over, because we knew it wouldn't be over right away, that this is an ongoing relief effort.
Well, yesterday we actually got to take down a house. We got to help in the demolition of a house, and I actually got to talk to the owner of the house individually, and he was so thankful. And I don't know, it made me know that I could actually talk to the people, and that our help down here is actually really helping them.
Since we have begun, we have seen progress, absolutely. As I said, our job sites have changed a lot, from litter pickup and demo to now, finally 2 years later, we're talking about rebuilding, which is a great amount of time between when the storm actually occurred and now. So we're excited to be a part of that effort and the future of this area.
Thanks, guys.
To see volunteer stories, go to www.projectkatrinavolunteers.net.
Nina Brainina, a student at Occidental College, produced this documentary about her visit to New Orleans.
More than 2 years after Hurricane Katrina, the city of New Orleans remains in a state of crisis. Thousands are in need of everything from social services to help rebuilding their homes. Our goal is to illuminate the variety of services that various organizations provide, so that prospective volunteers can be more well informed. Greenlight New Orleans is a nonprofit organization that provides free, energy-efficient CFL light bulbs to any resident who requests them.
We go out in the neighborhood to all these homes and exchange about 400 to 500 light bulbs in one event. But I have so many applications that I can use, a huge amount of volunteers. And it's important if we rebuild the city that we rebuild it green, we rebuild it sustainable. These are the light bulbs, and we just go and exchange whatever Dorothy wants us to exchange. We have now installed about 4,500 light bulbs, and we have applications for 18,000 light bulbs, and applications come in every day. So hopefully we will be able to put in around 20,000 light bulbs. And the energy savings for the city over the time of the light bulbs, over the lifetime of a light bulb, would be about $1 million. So your savings over the lifetime of the light bulbs, that's about 5 years. You will save.
I'm going to keep your number and you better not change it because it's right out.
27,610 kilowatt hours of electricity. That equals to $2,990. And I think it's a wonderful experience for somebody to come down here and actually experience the true New Orleans culture, combined with doing something good for the environment.
One of the main factors that contributed to the devastating flood levels in the hurricane's aftermath is the degradation of Louisiana's wetlands. Besides providing habitat for millions of diverse species and improving water quality, every 2.7 miles of wetlands reduces storm surge levels by 1 foot. Louisiana loses up to 40 square miles of wetlands a year. The primary causes for this loss are human: oil and gas exploration, levee construction, canal dredging, draining for agriculture, and deforestation all contribute to wetlands loss. The Louisiana Department of Agriculture and Forestry has a program that employs volunteers to aid in wetlands restoration. This is a planting of bulrush on Lake Catawachi. Volunteers are taken by boat to areas where replanting will have the greatest impact. This state-organized program employs volunteers in scheduled plantings throughout the year for a truly hands-on experience in environmental preservation.
Residents come to us because they were displaced with Katrina or because they've fallen on a hard time since. Many of our residents have come from situations of domestic violence, and so they come to the shelter and are able to get back on their feet through a variety of programs that we offer.
In general, we offer shelter, like long-term shelter in a family-style environment, which means that everybody pitches in with chores, including the volunteers. Everybody cooks meals, everybody lends a hand. It's very much, everybody is each other's support.
Kitchen and dining room cleanup. Thursday?
Friday for Doris.
Friday for Doris. Thank you.
And then while the women are staying here, we offer case management, which means that we offer, while you're staying here, women get free eye, free dental, free mental health stuff, free like general practitioner. We offer them like a family structure, a structure of support, and we also offer them a cooking program where they can learn long-term skills. We just offer anything to get them back on their feet. The goal is always empowerment. The goal is always independence. And what we don't want is to fall to a situation where they're so dependent on somebody that they can't stand on their own 2 feet. And most of them are, but there's, sometimes people need a little help, a little boost. So we offer that boost.
Rebuilding Together New Orleans employs volunteers of all skill levels to help rebuild the homes of elderly, disabled, and low-income residents. Eva Alito, a construction specialist for Rebuilding Together, describes the types of workers they need.
Well, depending on their skill level, we'll put them to work painting. If you have the lowest skill level, we can teach somebody how to paint. If they know how to hang drywall, we'll put them to work doing that. Painting, trim work on the interior, hanging cabinets, anything that you can think of that needs to be done in a house. If a volunteer is willing to learn, we're willing to teach them. We just need somebody who's able-bodied and good spirit, and we can put them to work doing just about anything in a home that needs repair.
The Common Ground House of Excellence serves as a technical and legal resource center for the residents who are rebuilding. They provide a public computer lab, open daily, and free legal aid every Saturday with pro bono lawyers. They also employ volunteers to run various other programs.
The focus of what we do is providing technical support for other local nonprofits in the area and for the organization as a whole that we work for. We also provide technical support for community members. One of the things that we do is taking e-waste and turning, basically computers headed for the dump, turning those into functional machines. We've done that with about 150 machines.
We specialize in basically bringing grassroots media to the New Orleans area and the diaspora. We have print media outlets such as Breaking Ground newspaper. We have Radio Project trying to launch off the ground, Radio Uprising. We also have our website, and yeah, that's about it.
And now I can't work. It's been a real 1-2 punch, so I really appreciate this place. Just coming in to use the phone and the internet, read the paper, and everybody's so friendly. It's a good deal.
More than 2 years after the flood, the New Orleans public school system has still not fully recovered. Thousands of students have fallen behind due to a shortage of teachers and resources. New Orleans Outreach is targeting this issue by putting volunteers right in the classrooms.
New Orleans Outreach is a nonprofit organization that is trying to improve the public school system. So it's putting all of these volunteers as teacher assistants and tutors to strengthen the teacher to student ratio. I was working one-on-one with a student working on his reading fluency, which means we time him for a minute to see how many words he can get through. And at the time of the first test, he was reading about 3 or 4 words per minute, and then by the time at the end, he was close to reading about 80 words per minute, which is above passing, so it's pretty great. In the afternoon, we have yoga, we have karate, we have dance, sports, art. It takes an immense amount of patience, but it's probably the most rewarding thing ever. I mean, we never know when the city's going to be rebuilt and when all these buildings are going to be back, but knowing that each kid is improving and reading every time you read with them is amazing and so rewarding.
The more self-sufficient you are, the more of an asset you can be, because there are scant resources to be divided up between residents and volunteers.
I think prospective volunteers should have an open mind when they come down, not only just to experience a different culture and a different way of living, especially if you come from a very different background, but also with non-profit grassroots organizations, things tend to change a lot. So you got to be flexible, you got to roll with it, and just if something happens or a project gets canceled or moved or changed, you go with it, and you always try and stay positive and productive.
It kind of tones down the racism when you see the white young women coming to help us, and they're not afraid to come and help us because all the stereotypes. They're not afraid. That really tones it down and make me feel real good and proud, and more acceptance to the different races.
Get involved with locals, get to meet the people you're here to help, and take their stories home with you, and don't forget us.
No food on my table, and no shoes go on my feet.
Students on an alternative spring break next.
I was a volunteer here in St. Bernard Parish for the past 24 years after I was paralyzed in a car accident. As you can see, this is what's left of my home after Katrina. I didn't think I'd ever see my home rebuilt again. I spent the past 2 years living in a FEMA trailer, waiting to die in a FEMA trailer.
Debris, push all that. I brought a hammer. If you want to pull like the individual nails out of the studs, so when they come in here and do all the other work.
I'm Ashley Ramos.
I'm Emily Wasserman.
And we are here with the Sid Jacobson JCC program.
We're helping to build sites, reconstruct the homes after Hurricane Katrina hit over 2 years ago. And we gave up our December vacation because we thought that there's nothing else I could think of that is more rewarding than doing something like this. And it's just so unbelievable to see personally the faces and like of these people after their homes have been destroyed, and they've all stayed so positive about it. And it's really humbling, the whole experience.
Everything here was once amazing, and now it's been ruined, and I'd like to get it back to the way it was. And I'm willing to sacrifice my vacation, anything it takes to get this done.
It's kind of sad that all these homes were once like any other homes, and now they, just because of a hurricane, they got ruined and they have to start from scratch. And we're here to help them.
We saw a lot of the destruction, and it was really devastating to see what had actually happened, and it was like a big accomplishment to figure out that we finished this and that there's more of a chance that somebody might move back.
For me, this was much more, as a Catholic, what Christmas is to me is to practice giving instead of receiving, and this is a perfect thing for me. I came out here to give instead of staying home and receiving a bunch of gifts, and that's practically what I'm trying, because I've been pretty spoiled up to this point, and just when I heard about New Orleans, I felt like this would be a great idea to do that, and help others.
My Christmas present, the only thing I got for Christmas this year is a whole group of volunteers. I walked outside my front door and I seen a rainbow from the beginning to the end, and 20 minutes later I found out I was going to have some 16 volunteers helping me today. If there were more people like this in America that would volunteer their time to help put people back in their homes, thanks would be immense. And if you ever needed us, I'm pretty sure most of us would pack up our things and come to you. So I would like to see a permanent facility built where they have to put in 35 hours of community service and actual accountability. That way the state has something to grasp onto so they could fund this and make this really happen. And they put in their hours in their community service, they'll have a fed meal and a free place to stay.
I just want to thank you volunteers for everything y'all have done. This storm has been where we have seen some of the best in America and some of the most scummiest people in the world that have come here for some of their own self-gain. But to see these young people that are here to do something, not to fill their pockets, is truly amazing. A lot of the people here that are doing this work are doing it genuinely from their heart and genuinely trying to improve our lives.
And this is how Katrina left it.
Historic buildings and a brand new facility at Gulfside Assembly were flooded and flattened by Hurricane Katrina's fury in August 2005.
We raised the building, celebrated. 20 days later, it was gone. So God must have a better plan for this place. Otherwise, he would not have swept it clean.
The United Methodist site in Waveland, Mississippi, nestled between the Gulf of Mexico and soaring cedar and oak trees, served for decades as a retreat for African Americans during segregated times. Although the buildings no longer stand, the spirit of hope is being restored.
It has a life that will continue and be a thing of beauty that people will enjoy and appreciate.
Volunteers, including several United Methodist pastors, spent nearly 6 months at the Hinton Rural Life Center in North Carolina, crafting symbolic furniture from these logs that once stood as shade trees at Gulfside. They're carefully shaping these pieces of eastern red cedar into a communion table, the centerpiece, literally, of the 2008 General Conference.
People can walk up to it and touch the communion table or the pulpit or something and say, this was a tree at Gulfside.
The pieces represent the rich past and promising future of this historic site. Plans call for the furniture to be returned to a rebuilt Gulfside.
It's pretty amazing what it symbolizes, I think, that it survived.
Many of the volunteers coming to the Gulf Coast are college students who have participated in university-sponsored programs, sometimes referred to as alternative spring break vacations. Teachers, professors, and other school staff have also served as active volunteers. In this story, we'll talk to a college professor who has traveled to the Gulf Coast during a semester break to lend a hand with a habitat building project in Bay St. Louis.
Hi there, my name is Marla Schofer, and we're here at in Bay St. Louis, Mississippi at a Habitat for Humanity work site where we are working on 10 homes that are being built. The one behind me is called a Blitz home, which means that we will be putting up this entire home start to finish from slab to move-in condition within 1 week, which is pretty amazing if you've ever seen a home before. This is my first experience with doing anything with Habitat. I'm a volunteer. I've never worked on a house before except for some minor house painting. And what I've been doing the last couple of days is putting up siding, putting on some roof material, building a kitchen, all things I've never done before that I'm learning how to do. And I also would like to tell you that this is my vacation. This is not my typical idea of a vacation that I would go on, but I chose to do it because I was really concerned about what was going on down here in New Orleans. I initially got connected down here through Habitat, and they're working with a local organization that's called Lanyap Church, which actually is a mission that was put together right after Katrina to come down and help build houses. And what they did is they built sort of army barrack housing with 290 bunk beds, and for $20 a day, I get a bunk and 3 meals and, you know, shower and toilet facilities. It's a bit rustic, but you know, look what you're doing and look what you're working on. So it's if you think about it as a vacation, it's probably the least expensive vacation you could ever take, and probably the most rewarding that you could ever do in your life. It's just been an incredible experience for me. I'm meeting really good people, and it's really worthwhile. There's still a ton of work to do down here in Mississippi and in Louisiana. I think that we're not seeing a lot of it anymore in the news and the media, but it's going to be years and years before things are cleaned up here. And there's a lot of people that are living in FEMA trailers. They don't have homes to live in. The countryside is landscaped with homes that have been blown apart. And I would encourage anybody who can come down here to try to get a trip down here. It's really worthwhile, and it's probably one of the more interesting trips I've ever taken, and I think it's gonna have a big effect on my life.
To see volunteer stories, go to www.projectkatrinavolunteers.net.